thanks for staying with us. Ukrainians in South Africa, along with local supporters, have taken to the streets of Cape Town to air their views and show support to all those affected by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Ukraine has been under attack for over a week now, this even after a temporary ceasefire has come into effect. eNCA reporter Lindsay Dentlinger is following these developments. Let's cross to her for the latest. Lindsay, when we spoke to you a while ago, you had somebody that's from Ukraine staying in South Africa expressing their disappointment and anger with regards to what exactly is going on in Ukraine. What are people saying now, and what's the point and aim of this particular march that you are at now?
So Heidi, you might be able to hear behind me Ukrainians who have lived in South Africa, many of them for more than a decade, several of them married to South Africans. You can hear them telling their stories about their experiences, trying to contact their families, not knowing whether they're going to pick up the phone, whether they're safe. And most importantly, we've even heard from Russian-speaking Ukrainians who say that it's certainly untrue, the narrative that is being put forward by Russia, that the invasion is to save Russian-speaking Ukrainians. People here saying it's just not true. They've never felt under threat. They live peacefully in Ukraine, and many of them also wanting South Africa to take a stronger stance against the war. But Heidi, with me I have Zinka. She is a Ukrainian lady who's also married to a South African, lived here for years, to tell us what is behind. You've had more than one protest here in Cape Town. We're outside the gates of Parliament. What is your message to the South African government today?
We just hope that South African government stands with its constitution and condemns Russian aggression. What Russia is doing is against democracy, it's against territorial integrity, so it's clear violation of UN Charter, and we hope that South African government just stands to the values of anti-apartheid activists, because silence is not neutrality. Silence is standing with oppressor. Steve Biko, Nelson Mandela, they all spoke about importance of taking your agency and changing this world so that everyone stays free, has a freedom. So we just hope that not just the government, if government stays silent, that every South African stands today with Ukraine.
You have some requests besides that from the South African government which you've expressed in your statement. Can you just tell us about that, especially in terms of your families who are back home and whose safety you are obviously extremely concerned about?
Yes, so we ask South African government to allow our family members to come to South Africa. At the moment there were no special rules done, so they still have to apply for visa in the country of origin. As we know, the South African embassy has moved out of Kiev, so this is impossible to do now. Also, as people flee from Ukraine, and there is more than 1 million of persons that left, that became refugees. We're just asking for our family members to be able to come to South Africa and stay with us while this war finishes.
Drinker, what are you hearing from your family members today, perhaps, or in the recent days that you've spoken to them? What is the situation? We see a lot of it on our television screens, but what are you hearing firsthand from your family members in the Ukraine?
It's a war. It's every day it's getting more and more violent. We see raping, we see killing of civilians, killing of children. My parents are in Kiev. They decided to stay to supporting those children with cancer who now can't receive treatment, those elderly who couldn't evacuate. It's a massive humanitarian crisis in Ukraine, and this crisis will be felt around the world.
Thank you very much, Zinka. They're from the Ukraine, living in South Africa. As you hear there, Heidi, saying that this is going to be a humanitarian crisis that we're all going to feel, even down here in South Africa, and the Ukrainian community here in South Africa asking for our government to take a stronger stance against the aggression in their homeland.
Certainly, Lindsay, it's such a sad picture to see, and the fact that your guest says her parents are still there, I mean, one can only imagine the trauma and the difficulty that everyone's going through, because at the end of the day, we're all affected by this. But thank you so much for bringing us that update out in Cape Town. That was Lindsay Dentlinger.